It's me, the talented and better version of another guy. I'm here today to bring you terrible news. Unfortunately, we have a loss on the staff. Yes.
So sad.
And sadly, there was this. I killed dinner tonight. I cooked a steak, and I killed it. So we gathered together in the listening show to mourn the loss of the dinner we ate. It wasn't the best, but it was dead meat. I grilled it. Welcome to the listening show.
That was timed exactly wrong. You just were closing it, and I lost patience right before the end. I ruined it.
Welcome to the listening show.
I'm gonna have to reset the cameras. We can keep recording, but I set it to 60 FPS, and it can't handle that. Apparently, we don't have the technology I thought we did.
Weird.
I thought it was a mistake I was making, but apparently I was doing that for this reason. So if it doesn't freeze out, that's what I'm going to do. We should be okay. Sorry to interrupt that. Go on with your fascinating story.
No.
No.
So this
Okay,
week
we should be okay.
we're a day late. We usually like to do the podcast published by the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know that was ever strictly stated, but we're a day late.
But it was a tandem subconscious desire because we had been doing it without ever having agreed to have done that. That's just what we do. Did I get it? I don't think I did. I did not.
Shoot.
We had a third camera.
We have a good excuse though. We've been busy. We've been busy.
Yeah, fair excuse. That we were busy and the AC was out, which was I think the next big thing. Where we could have done it, I guess, aside from being busy, but then it would have sucked. Mm-hmm. Like it just wasn't fun here. So I'll tell that story if I can.
You just so can.
Okay. I missed the button I was going to use. Anyway, so I think we mentioned that my dad and I are working on the basement because I'm going to live in that space. Something about that because we mentioned we want to use the room that I'm living in now for the watching show.
We might have mentioned it casually.
So, I don't know about the half of that sounds like something we mentioned. Anyhow, we were working down there and we ran in electrical and it happened that when we were doing electrical, the AC stopped working. Or that, well, that's either a really amazing coincidence or we did something that ruined it. But we checked, the AC was getting power. Thermostat's on. It's just not working, but it's on. Like, well, and it has power, so it's not like we robbed it of power or anything. And that happened very inconveniently. It happened Friday evening, I think. It may have been Saturday evening. I'm getting my days mixed up. But anyway, maintenance wasn't coming around because it's the weekend and they're closed. So we were stuck with this all weekend. Zach got to call and go ahead and let you interject. What did maintenance say about coming out to fix it on the weekend?
They said it has to be. I think that this counts as a maintenance emergency. We live in a co-op. So basically, it's the maintenance is responsible for things that go wrong in general. But if it's an emergency on the weekends, if it's going to cause damage to people or property, then they will come in on the weekend and fix it. And AC is one of those things, I thought. And so I basically said, AC's out. It could cause damage to the property because it could get too hot and break the fridge. I don't know. People, it could break me. So they were like, yeah, you're technically right. But we have a procedure that means that it must be at least 84 degrees outside. And he kind of actually had a voice like that. It has to be 84 degrees for us to
Did he say 84
in.
degrees or 84 degrees outside?
It has to be 84 degrees outside.
You did say outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't
84
sure.
degrees outside to do that. And our weather app says that it's 74. So you got 10 more degrees to go there, bub. And I was like, man, this guy's calling me bub makes me feel a little better, but so we were I was kind of like casually looking at the temperature the whole week. The hottest it got was 84.
Yeah. Well,
but it was like
they said 84 and I thought, well, shoot, I guess we're stuck with this for the weekend. And this is the funny part of the story. We're stuck with it waiting for it to get to 84. Now, I wasn't sure if they meant inside or outside because I realized, what if it's 84 inside? Isn't that more relevant than if it's 80 outside anyway?
That makes sense to me.
But I wasn't sure. I don't know that it got to 84 outside. I think it did, but I wanted to be conservative and say that outside didn't matter. It was what's inside that mattered. And it
Just
got
like people.
each
It's what's inside that counts.
AC. That's like people. It got to 83
inside that
throughout the
counts.
day. It was 83 in here both days. Both days. And I'm like, that's hilarious. It just up to the line. It's almost like they set that number knowing that you'll never get to 84. I don't know. It's just such an odd number. Anyway,
funny.
It was just like, that's funny. So
We build
anyhow,
our houses with a built-in ceiling on how hot it can get. That's dumb.
It's dumb. It was just.
I thought it was. I
was
did not think it was
comical.
that hot though. I was here the whole weekend, and it was kind of nice to me.
Yeah, well, you like hot.
I like, but I didn't.
I tried to explain that to my dad or somebody. I said he's weird. He likes he'll drive in the summertime with the windows up and no air. And they're like, wow, like yeah, that's just what he's like. So I'm sure
Yeah.
he's fine with it.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
but
today-
even it didn't feel that way. Like it didn't feel hot in here to me. I don't know if that's because I just am used to it, but it just felt like because what we did is we closed all the windows. We literally made it like a cave in here. It was awesome.
turn all the lights off.
all the lights off, all the
Nothing that
electronics.
doesn't. Nothing. Yeah, nothing that has to be running isn't on.
Yeah, and like I would open the freezer a little bit sometimes just to get some cool because we got that
Because you
freezer.
didn't think it was hot at all.
No, no, just because I was like, it's cool. Anyway, I know that's a little self-conflictory, but anyway, the point is I thought it was fun and cool. It was like a nice little weekend
I did
adventure
not.
for me.
Last night I was like, no, I'm actually just going to sleep in my parents' house because they have room and it's cooler. I think why not? And now I wasn't just thinking it was going to get fixed today. If you hadn't guessed as much, it is fixed today. Today is Monday, and this story is going on a while, but I don't care. So Monday morning, I came back home from my parents' place, and I happened to catch the maintenance guy as he was leaving, and he said, "Well, it's not working, so whoever did electricity, you should probably ask them about it." And I took a slight insult because like this was obviously conflictory. It has power. I believe my dad, who's not a master electrician, but like he's up there. Master electrician is actually a title, by the way. Isn't that badass?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of masteries
in
master plumber.
yeah, it's how
Yeah.
cool.
If you're
imagine if you got master plumber, that's your certification. So instead of like Dr. Walter, you're Master Walter.
Yeah,
What are you
right.
master of? Oh, toilets.
my stuff. Yeah,
Like technically, be awesome if that got put in your title. So your mail says like,
yeah.
now what would be the abbreviation for master? Be as close to Mister. Anyway,
Here's a funny little offset of that little. What do they call it? Tangent.
yeah.
Tangent. Here's a tangent on that. My dad has a joke that it's not his joke. It's one of his friends' jokes because he's a falconer.
Right. I know where this
There's
is
a
going,
term-
but let's allow it because I haven't forgotten where I am in my story. We're going over the place.
Yeah,
but
which
it's
is
okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
But like, there's a term in falconry. My dad's a falconer. Term in falconry called baiting, and it's when the bird tries to fly away, and so like the guy was basically like, there's 3 levels of falconry. You can be an apprentice or a general, or you can be a master falconer. And those are levels. And once you get to be a master falconer, then you can be a masturbator. And it was great to me.
Yeah, I remember you telling a joke differently, but anyway,
I don't remember.
punchline-
The punchline is masturbate.
Yeah. That's
The end.
Anyways,
Anyways.
maintenance guy this morning says, yeah, it's not working, so clearly it's not getting power. That's what was his conclusion because it's not turning on. I'm like, I don't know why it's not turning on, but it has power. We did, and whatever. So I was at an impasse between my dad and this guy, and I said, well, why don't you come on over again, and we'll exchange information. I said. So he comes down, opens the panel, looks in there, and says, yeah, normally there's 2 lights here supposed to come on. I'm like, well, it's getting power. We verified that. So I said, I don't know about circuit boards, but and I looked, I was like, could the fuse be blown? And he goes, that's a possibility. So let me go test it. So we took it out, tested it, came back. It was blown. So it was nice to know that nobody was wrong.
Yeah.
It was one of those mysteries, but whew, cheap part, no problem. Put it in, AC kicked on. Oh, amazing.
That's so good.
And I'm just happy because it's noise here. So I guess that's the AC story.
My room was pretty cool, so I think you could
It
be
was
right.
oddly cool.
Yeah.
I've been going out, throughout the place through the weekend. I was like, this room is cooler than mine. What's going on?
Mine.
Mine.
Yeah, it's nice. So you've been working. Did you finish your soundboard? Is that something we could do?
Nope. There's nothing here.
Oh, okay.
Making a soundboard, I guess I'll just hold up to the camera. You can kind of see. There's a digital buttons there. There's little pictures you can't really see; they're washed out. You can make a picture and you can put text over it. And most importantly, you can get and make sound bites. And I've recently made a bunch more sound bites, but I haven't done anything else with them. I haven't made pictures or text or put them in the soundboard. So there's a lot more to making a soundboard than just having a sound file, unfortunately. I was going to say about the basement.
Yeah,
Just generally.
Sure.
So, yep, that's coming along. My dad and I spent 3 days. And when I say my dad and I really do mostly mean him. I mean, I'm just extra hands. He's the one who knows what he's doing.
I have a question.
That's a good question.
So what's your answer?
Hold on. Right. Simple. Do you need to hear that again?
You might give it to me. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm covered.
Well,
There's 3 identical. That's so gross. Go ahead. Basement.
Basement is he's happy with the progress. I say that because his opinion of what is progress is more relevant than what I think is. But that being said, I'm happy with the progress too. It's roughed in for those of you who know or care. That means the walls and electrical are up.
It's gonna be
The
cool.
framing is all so you and it just it's gonna be cool. Anyway,
Yeah.
the reason that's really relevant to this is two things. One, it's something to talk about with what happened, and two, the closer I get to finishing that, the closer I get to moving out of there, which is the closer we get to setting up and maybe working on the watching show.
Watching show.
So there's just a lot of good news there.
Yeah.
Our goal is mid next month, so I guess that's 3 to 4 more weeks. So now you know. You didn't know that. I didn't know that till yesterday.
Dude, what a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good sound, but actually I looked it up, but it just didn't come. Some sounds, I'm sorry, I know I'm going off, but I write a note for what sound I want to go get, and I know where to look to go get it. And one of them was from Idiocracy. Yeah. We say that a lot. But some of the sounds I get to, they just don't sound good when you play them on their own. They just sounds like a noise. You don't understand what they're saying without the context. One of them is that kind of noise from an Olin Rogers video called Majoring Tree. If you play it by itself, with the white noise that's in the video, it just doesn't, you can't make out what it is. So it's sad. Some are great. Some are fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a weird tangent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was for lattes.
Yeah. I have a conversation topic.
Good.
Maybe we've talked about it before.
Well, that's not good.
Drugs.
Every day.
Have you ever done drugs?
No.
I know.
Wait. Does do drugs count? Do pills count as drugs?
If you take them in excess.
I've taken medicinal drugs at best.
In excess?
No.
You always take what you're prescribed.
I'm a very good little piggy in that regard.
You ever take
With
take it the
medication.
way it's prescribed too?
Yeah, one time I'm kidding. No, yes, always.
Okay. You don't like grind up
I
your...
got nothing. I got
Okay.
nothing. Sorry, I was deviating from your question.
Okay.
I haven't done drugs.
Okay.
But to be a part of the conversation, since I have nothing, what was it? If I heard it, I would remember, but it's an antidepressant, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It didn't change very much. The only thing I noticed was a side effect called akathisia. There it is. It's a weird word.
Describe it.
It's a electric or shocking sensation throughout your nervous system or body. And while it was very small, that's the best way I would describe it.
Oh,
so imagine if you touch an outlet, you've probably been electrocuted before, or a better one is static. You feel that, you'll feel that pop on the tip of your finger, but in the rest of your body, you'll feel it too. So imagine something not quite as painful as a light static shock on your finger, but it's hits your whole body. It's like, ugh. It's just as uncomfortable and annoying as if you just shocked your finger, but it happens throughout your whole body randomly.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. That lasted for months after I stopped taking the medication, which I weaned off very slowly. It was a good little piggy. But anyway, that is the most experience I have with drugs. Really.
I have a question. Do you happen to know if the akathisia is strictly for people? It's strictly an antidepressant side effect, or does that just happen in general with people?
As far as I understand it, it is a general side effect of antidepressants.
Okay.
Meaning it's not limited to it, but that's one of the main
So
ones.
it can occur without.
I would think so.
Okay, because I was like, what you're describing, I used to get a lot, which is jolt of my whole body, and it's like uncomfortable and it wakes you up. Or if you're not, like if you're awake, even it's just like you're doing whatever. It's like, oh, your whole body just like zap.
They weren't that violent for me. They were just annoying, not disturbing. They wouldn't stop me from.
It's almost like you hear almost like you hear a slight pop in your ears.
No, it wasn't that violent. Oh. No, I was trying to describe. It wasn't as violent as like a balloon and rubbing your hair, and you just slowly approach your finger to the stack, so it's as powerful as possible. It's not that kind of painful.
Okay.
It's just
your whole body.
You might feel a little discomfort in your body. That's what happens. Anyway, wasn't physically. It wasn't like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure it could be. I mean, not with antidepressants, but the sensation of akathisia, I'm sure has different levels of severity, and I'm sure mine was minor. That's try number 2. I got one more try this episode to catch that fly.
You can have as many tries as you want. I'll try to catch it if it's by me too.
Yeah.
He's upstairs now. He'll be in my room later. There was I had a.
Oh, sorry. The topic was if I had done drugs, so I assume you have to talk.
Oh yeah, I will talk drugs.
Just don't let you forget.
But I want to tell this, and there was a mosquito hawk or whatever those big looking things are, in my room. It was one of those nights I was by myself. Like neither you or Jordan were here, but I was like up in there by myself. It was like 2 a.m. I was chilling, having a good time by myself, and I see like one in the room. And so I went to go open stop it. I went to go open my bedroom door, and I was going to usher him out. And I like turned around and I couldn't find him. And so I closed the door again. I thought he must've just flown out behind me, but then I saw him in the room again. And so I like watched him like this, and I like sidestepped all the way to the door. And then I turned and I opened the door, and I looked back to where it just was gone. I was like, okay, I'm just going to leave the door open. But now I've not seen it since. So I'm just paranoid that he just either died in my room or he's just still there, like hanging out. That was like a week
ugly.
ago.
I don't care that people say they're nice and good because they kill mosquitoes. I never go out of my way to crush one of them though. Not one of those. I don't only go out of my way to crush something that's specifically something like a mosquito. I will I will try to slap it, or a fly. Those two things I will try to stop, but otherwise I just leave them.
Yeah, I don't like
spiders
looking
too.
at
I
them.
leave them. Just leave them, especially if they're wolf spiders.
You leave them, especially if they're wolf spiders?
I can't think of any other spider I would decidedly leave alone, except maybe we would call them sprite spiders. I don't know what they actually are. We call them sprite spiders because they look like the color was close to sprite. I don't know. It's like an alliteration. It kind of rolls off the tongue.
Spiders.
Sprite spider. Anyway.
Yeah. That doesn't make.
If I saw one that looked potentially bad,
you didn't see you don't see fiddlebacks, or you don't.
I don't know anything about spiders.
Oh, you want to learn about spiders really quick?
No, I want to learn about drugs.
Why don't you want to learn about spiders?
Because they're more scary than drugs.
I don't know. Well, I guess I won't tell you.
No, they are, because one of them is more scary if it goes in my mouth.
Spider.
Yes. Spiders are more scary. That's a joke. I'm not trying to actually make a point.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll talk about spiders another time, even though that's what I want to talk about.
Let's change the subject.
I will for that. So I did some drugs, another kinds. Well, that's not a kind I hadn't done before, but I did it. It was fun, and I remembered man, these are great. Why don't more people do drugs? I don't know. I'm at the risk
more than you. The answer is yes. More people do drugs.
I know. Why don't more people then do and already do them? It was sort of like because I did dabs the other day.
I don't know what that is.
So marijuana, there's like smoking marijuana regular. There's like joints and there's blunts, and they're different. And I don't know how they're different. One of them's fatter, and one of them's like, I think joints are thinner and they're rolled, and dabs are also rolled, but they're fatter, and then it's bigger puffs and stuff. And then there's dabs. And dabs usually involve like a concentrated version of weed, and then it's like a paste. And there's a bunch of different kinds of dabs, but the kind that I had was a paste, and then you like superheat up either a glass or a pipe or something, and then you take a tiny bit of the concentrated stuff, and then you burn it with your superheated glass pipe or whatever, and then you just inhale that. And what I've noticed, I've smoked joints and blunts and dabs. I've done all that. And I've done edibles too. And edibles I don't like because they're just too much. And the other ones are all fine, but dabs are my favorite. And I can describe why. It's because it doesn't feel like you're on anything. You just feel cozy. I literally, because that's the thing I don't like about substances that alter your mental state, like alcohol and stuff, is how it takes you and you don't feel like yourself.
I don't know if this is what you said. I think it is something like it removes your agency.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what alcohol does. It literally inebriates you and turns you into a toddler again, as far as your coordination goes. But in your mind too, it just stops you from thinking critically with your long-term memory. But anyway, that's another kind of thing. But I was always scared of dabs because it looks just like bad drugs, because like the burning the pipe and everything, and then the smoking, and it's a lot of smoke and stuff.
Isn't it heroin that typically has burning in a glass or whatever,
or
Yeah,
like in
that's
a
what
spoon?
Yeah, that's what I was equating it to.
Yeah,
But
so it's not that.
I'm really ignorant, so.
Right, so it's not that. It's
But
just
I understand how that looks intimidating. You're
Yeah,
essentially
yeah.
it's like a science
Especially
beaker
when you're
of
used to-
boiling like liquid in a vase. Like,
Exactly.
So it's intimidating.
exactly. And so like when you're used to seeing marijuana as bad as it gets is, it's leaves and then you smoke the leaves or whatever. But then this stuff is like that's the stuff. Anyway. But I had done them before. I went to Colorado and I did a bunch there, and I was like kind of nervous too, but I was in Colorado, and that was why I was kind of not there for that. But
How long ago was that? That was like
I went with you.
I figured. So that
Yeah.
was less than a year, but anyway.
It's something like that, but I did them a lot then, and because I was like in a safe place with people I knew and stuff, I was like, I'll try it because even though it looks intimidating. And when I tried it, I was really afraid it was going to be too much for me because I just don't like too much for me. But it not only was it not too much for me, I was like, what? I feel just so clear. I just feel very relaxed. And I was like, boy, every time, like it was just any anxiety I had just went away. And I know that that's one of the side effects of that particular drug, marijuana. It's less drug-like than alcohol, honestly, and from what I can tell. But anyway, I was just thinking, when I did it the other day and I was reminded exactly how it felt, I was like, boy, if people could integrate this responsibly, why wouldn't we? Like,
Well, they're
it's just
still
so-
legalizing weed, right? I think it
Yeah.
went from like 2 states that did to now it's like maybe 3 states that don't or something. Like you're basically all
And
the way-
Kansas is kind of like one of those. Yeah.
But you're mostly there now, right?
Yeah, well, and what I did where I did was legal, by the way.
Yeah.
What I did where I did it was legal. I was in the city where it's legal. But anyway, it was the legality isn't really important to me. I'd do it if it wasn't legal, probably too.
That's good to know.
It's just that it's really the thing. Here's another vein that I was thinking along these lines, like integrating stuff that can help people. People do it with food. They do it with vitamins. They do it with like other things. I don't know. I just know a lot of people. I know of some family members who struggle with like anxiety in ways that's pretty crippling. And I'm just thinking, man, I wish they'd just try dabs, just like
should-
having a panic attack,
you
just be
should-
like, smoke
You
this.
should be like an evangelical that goes door to door trying to. Have you heard of our Lord and Savior dabs? Like
Right.
try.
It's
Have
pretty
you
dumb,
welcome dabs into your life?
but yeah. I actually know that those people
Pot
exist.
pot will take all of your worries away. Just give it up to that joint. Smoke a fat one. Amen. Like you're talking like this is your savior now. Like
I know.
I found the way.
I hope it
being
doesn't
a
sound
little,
like that.
I'm being
Yeah.
a little bit like
No,
I'm
those
joking.
people exist. I promise I'm not one of them. I'm leaning to. I probably could be, but I don't buy them myself and stuff like that. It's not. It's like a thing I do socially.
I haven't had them, like I said, but I have some opinions on them. You don't have to.
Yeah.
If you don't want to.
Well, I'll briefly bring up the vein that we can go to later. But I was also listening. I've been listening to a bunch of lectures on psychedelics, and another one came out today. Jordan Peterson did an interview today, and it was awesome. It was so informational or informative.
You got it.
It was informationistic to me.
I got really informationized.
Informatiated. Informatiated.
Informatiated. I like that one. It sounds like fermented, initiated.
Satiated.
Yeah. Informatiated. It's just obscure enough to go what, but also enough to be. I think he's talking about information. Like
Yeah,
he also
and he's getting it.
It's like 50-50.
Information.
Ironically, that word is half information, half jargon
satiated.
when you hear it. Anyway, it's a bit meta.
What are your thoughts?
My brain's pulling up quotes. One of them I do want to share from comedian Mitch Hedberg, his most famous joke. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too. It's his most famous. It's a great one. Yeah, I was going to say I have no desire and I don't think I'm going to do drugs. Inversely, I said the same thing about alcohol and tattoos, and I'm getting a tattoo soon, and I've been having alcohol for like 6, 7, 8 months now, so recently. But those are things I thought I wouldn't do. So on that note, I don't personally think I'm going to do drugs. The one situation I can immediately think of where I'm like, yeah, I'll do these drugs is if I was training for a narcotics unit and they said, we want you to try this so you know exactly what you're doing. I'm like, okay, it's for work. It's to help other people. Like I'm studying. Like,
Yeah.
there's a good reason for it. All right.
Sure.
Like that. So it's not really a moral thing. It's just a lack of interest.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? But
Yeah.
generally, I don't care.
I guess just to clarify too, I'm not saying go smoke, Scott. I'm not smoking's bad too. I'm not negating that.
I forgot about smoking, that it was a thing.
Right.
That's weird.
It's just I don't know. I'm not saying go try it, everybody. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying like, boy, it's like we've got a lot of tools in life that really have helped people. Like the internet's a really cool tool. It's equipped a lot of people do a lot of really cool things. And then people they do things for comfort all the time. Like there's all these optimal chairs for your back, and there's exercise machines so that your biceps don't do weird things sideways. It's just like, if we can optimize everything, it would be cool to optimize just,
Drug
ways.
use.
Yeah. Like all of it. Because like legality is
I
weird.
think we are slowly, I guess.
Yeah. I'm not trying to defend all drugs or anything like that. And I don't know. The fact that marijuana is a drug, I'm increasingly being like, doesn't make sense. Like there's a lot of politics that got into it, and then people just kind of accepted it's a drug a long time ago, and it's just not.
I can
really.
totally understand. I'm not in
Yeah.
a position to take a side, but for example, there are a lot of examples of things in the past and present day where there's just wild misconceptions. For example, rock and roll was thought to be bad. Here's a better one, actually. Video games. There's a myth that they cause violence in people. That kind of thing. It's just still perpetuated. Who knows why? Agenda, ignorance. But I think that might be happening with weed, for example. I don't know. That's why I'm not in a position to say it's
I know.
but I
Actually,
realize there's a lot of things that are just false and perpetuated, and that's actually a pretty good example. I think video games links to violence.
It's a great example.
So
I know the story. At least I know
the story. What do you mean the story?
the story about why marijuana got sort of
Oh, I didn't know there was a
divorced.
story.
Yeah. I don't know it very well, and I'm going to have some of the facts wrong, but basically there was a guy who was a newspaper. He owned the newspaper, and his basically paper is made up out of trees and stuff. And there's a plant called hemp, which is marijuana essentially. And hemp is actually a really, really good substitute for trees to make paper. It's more efficient. It grows faster, and it's better for making paper. But this guy, he owned a tree business basically in California, I think. I don't remember where it was, but the guy owned the town. He owned this tree paper making business, and he owned the newspaper. And then his rivals, they were making the newspaper with hemp and everything. And so he basically hired a bunch of hitmen to basically write hit pieces that he published with his newspaper that was about talking about how evil hemp was because you could get high off of it. And somehow like that paper just spread like wildfire and about smoking hemp and about how bad it was. There's a bunch of lies in there about it. And it was all just to help improve his business
yeah.
basically. And there's some reason to be leery of weed. I'm not saying that at all, but this was back in like the don't quote me on this. I have the impression it was back in like the 1910s, 20s kind of thing. So it was just when publicity and public information was being distributed pretty regularly in towns and stuff with newspapers and stuff. So it was one of those things that just caught on, and then the kids all grew up thinking that hemp is evil, and then people realized, wait, this is the same thing as the marijuana. That can't be legal. And then it got kind of propagated, and the drug wars in the 90s didn't help all that. And
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some of that going on.
yeah,
I don't know.
there's a Rogan podcast where he tells the whole story in detail, and that's where I heard it. I was like, boy, that's pretty crazy story, but I could totally see how it could escalate to be it's illegal everywhere because we don't know, and we've heard forever that's bad. And you know, the people who just try it are just like dudes who go to work every day and mind their business. And
It's so possible, and the inverse of that happens too. For example, I made video games, and the link to real world violence, whatever, is a myth. Inversely, it's taken a long time for the public, and they still have a lot to learn about loot boxes and how it's just gambling, unregulated gambling for children with real money. And so it's like we fear the violence of video games, which doesn't exist, and we're completely unaware of the danger of allowing kids to gamble. You know, there's misinformation, I don't want to call it that, but I would think something like that elite ties into certainly.
It's like the bad effects of capitalism kind of thing.
I'm just not informed well, but I have the impression that weed, whatever it is not as bad as I guess the general public makes it out to be. I don't know. Speaking of drugs, unless you had more drug story, we kind of went over the place. I was going to jump to alcohol because I realized I do have something I could talk about.
Yeah.
So I drank more recently, and I wanted to apologize for my drunken behavior. I just, during the whole thing, I was like, this isn't how I want to be.
Isn't that true about alcohol, though? You're like, the whole time you're like, I'm such a bad person.
Like, I don't
like who I'm being right now.
So
Yeah.
I broke my record.
I would have bet.
Fair guess. My record, I don't like the word record. Upper limit, whatever.
Jeez. I don't know that this is not anything to be proud of, by the way. Go ahead and say it.
I'm not proud of it, but I did it for the reason that I wanted to, which is I want to know. That was the reason. And like now I know.
Yeah.
More. I don't know everything. So before it's the same alcohol, Crown Royal Apple Whiskey. Before it was 15 shots, one every 15 minutes. You look physically
oh my gosh, that's
sick.
so bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it? Because I didn't get sick. I didn't pass out. I didn't get nauseous. I was like, I could do more. So I did more. A few nights ago, I did. What was that, Saturday? Whatever. It was one shot every 10 minutes. I did 18 shots. And then I was like, there's a new level. And you were talking about drugs. And I don't know if I've experienced this before this last time, but there was this very clear effect. It was basically lag. I thought this is very interesting.
Yeah.
So you reach your hand out to grab something. Instead of seeing this, you see this, and then you see this, and then you see this.
Yep.
There's frames missing.
Yeah.
And it's not fast. That's technically how fast forwarding or speed works. You omit frames, but it's almost like the time elapsed the same. So it's like pause, whatever. So with movement, it's hard to judge. Like I thought I was here, but I'm here. So it's like, anyway, it was laggy. I was like, I'm lagging. This is interesting. Anyway, but I knew I was drunk enough to feel good, but I also was aware enough to know I'm very sick.
Yeah.
I should throw up. And you know that I think it's the worst thing ever. And I was like, I don't want to throw up, but I think it's the right thing to do. Zach knows all about throwing up. Zach! Yelled your name. I was like, he does. He knows all about it.
That sounds really bad.
It does sound bad.
It's not what you think.
You advocate for it if you feel sick.
I say if you drink too much, yes. If I drink too much ever, I just nope, I'm not going to handle this. I don't want to do it, so I'm going to just get rid of it and then be done for the night.
He has no qualms about doing it if it's necessary, whereas I will do almost anything to avoid throwing up.
Right.
Well, I thought it was necessary.
Yes.
So I was like,
it protects your liver is why I do it. If it ever goes too far, which I don't go too far anymore, it's just not fun. So
that's my consensus so far.
Yeah.
So I called you in. I would love to hear this from your perspective.
Okay.
So starting with the Zach.
Yeah. Well, you know when a person's drunk because
This
they
is why I'm
stand a certain way. They stand a certain way. They do this thing and their shoulders go down like this and their head kind of goes like this. So you came over like, can I come in? I was like, yeah. And he came, he's like, I want to talk to you, but I don't know what to talk about. I'm
Okay,
thinking
by
of
the
things.
way, I'm not trying to.
Yeah,
I
I
remember,
know what you
I
are.
remember everything.
Okay.
I didn't black out or anything like that.
Okay.
So
Okay, so it's not important.
no. I'm not telling you don't say. I'm just saying it's embarrassing to hear, but it's not like I'm going, what did I say? I know what I said.
You were a little, it was just a little confusing. You were a little confrontational
I was
unnecessarily, but
I was
that's,
very doty.
yeah.
Anyway,
And then you were like, I feel like I should throw up. And I was like, then you probably should. And I know that means you mean it when you say that because you
Yeah.
don't like throwing up. So I was like, all right, go do it. Where do I do it? You go do it in the toilet or the trash can, but preferably the toilet.
what
so
a
you don't have to-
stupid question.
Yeah.
I don't have my bleeper.
Yeah. And so you were in the bathroom and you were like, so how do I do it? I was like, throw a finger down there. And you're like, how long? And I was like, until you throw up. And you're like, ugh. And you're like,
And then
do I
you-
take it out? And like, no,
No,
but you
no.
keep it in there the whole time
You
until
said,
throw happens.
close the door. I don't want to hear it. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. Well, you do hear it and you didn't throw up, I don't think, but you tried a good long time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I tried, and you're right. I didn't. I think maybe it would have been more loud. I was very
This is
disappointed.
such a gross story.
Yeah. Well, it gets
Yeah.
more gross because I stuck my finger in the back. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
This is very, very
Oh,
dumb.
gosh.
I stuck my finger back of my throat, and I was like, I feel nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm too drunk. I don't even have a gag reflex because I'm so drunk. I do have a gag reflex. I brush my
Yeah.
tongue every day, and that makes me choke. But I was like, shit.
Did you just keep going?
I didn't put my fist in my mouth, but
Yeah, that's
I
what
was
you gotta
like,
do.
I was like, I should have, whatever.
That's
I was
what you
like,
do.
I was like, well, I tried.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
I wasn't about to go in there and
No, I
I wasn't about to do any more than tell you just do it until you throw up because I wasn't about to get descriptive, but basically that's what you do.
Okay.
You
I
literally
didn't
just-
know that.
you
That-
just-
that's why I asked. 'Cause
The point is to trigger the gag reflex. If you get a toothbrush and put it down there,
yeah. Well,
this is not.
I'm glad.
Boy,
that-
aren't you glad you tuned in to the listening show?
Yeah, this is a show where we talk about other podcasts and then all the crap in our lives. Those two things combined.
Throwing up and burping and, but yes, it does help, and it saves your liver. I do not ever. I hope you never drink 18 shots again of anything. I'm being serious. You could die. First of all, like
Be
just so
awkward.
you know, like the average that a person does roughly on a night, like a man will go to a bar and have is something in the range of 5 to 7 shots.
Wow.
And you do full shots. I know that you do. So you've proven you're more than capable of handling your alcohol. I know I've said before, I'm a proponent of try it once, get messed up once, so you know how bad it is, so you don't do it again. But I'm not in that position anymore because liver poisoning and blood poisoning and you could just die of alcohol poisoning.
I recently came to the thought because I assumed that before I ever hit my max, I would throw up or black out or lose my memory or something. I assumed that would happen, but as of this weekend, I was like, maybe I don't have that. Maybe I would just die. Maybe I would completely skip all those things. Like I never
Some
considered
people
that, but
can.
I was like, that must be what's going on because I just don't have that problem. Anyway, so the rest of the story is that sucked. And that was the one time I got actually like, I'm sick from alcohol,
Yeah.
fatigued, tired, nauseous, just need to rest. So
Yeah.
I did for like half a day. I just sat in a chair for like 4 hours at my parents' place with AC because the heat didn't help. Anyway, that was a couple days ago. I'm fine now, but the consensus is, well, I know a little bit more, and I don't see any reason to go for more because now I feel like there is no limit except death, and I don't need to find out. So
Yeah.
for me, I consider drunk, this is subjective, is when I feel the tingle in my toes, where it's hit my extremities, like I feel my body. That takes like 6 to 8 shots. So that's probably closer to people. And you, I think, when it comes to drinking, prefer a buzz, which can be as soon as like a shot or two, and then for 4 shots or beers, I'm guessing you're probably good. Like, what's your comfort level for drinking?
Well,
If you drink,
I can drink a lot too,
You
but
can,
I just
but like
don't.
how you enjoy drinking. If you were to enjoy yourself, what would you drink?
Well, okay, so I'm going to be honest. Technically, I would enjoy it if I just kept going. That's how it is. The most enjoyable way to drink is to keep drinking.
Yeah.
Because that's the fun part.
Speaking
So-
of which, 18 shots so quickly, that made it worse. I didn't
Yeah.
get to enjoy it. I didn't really get to enjoy that because it was so quick.
That sounds so sucky.
But
You
now I
said
know.
15. I was like, that's disgusting.
15 every 15 minutes, now 10 every, sorry, 18 every 10 minutes. So 3
I
hours.
can say that because I know it. I've done it, and it's just not worth it. I just feel bad. Just dangerous and bad for you.
I'm drinking water. I always drink water when I drink alcohol,
Yeah.
so I guess it helps. But
I think my philosophy with alcohol now is to just treat it with respect and don't. I'm not going to play the who can drink the most game with anyone anymore.
no, I never
ever.
would. Oh, you've done it. I never would.
Oh, yeah.
I never would try that.
Well, I just mean even like the casual, like, no, get another one. I'm
I'm immune to peer pressure. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have that problem. Drinking like, nah. I'm just gonna do what I
wouldn't
want.
say you're immune to that necessarily. It just is. It doesn't affect you with like no. It
Okay,
just depends
fine.
on the peer.
Fine. I'm not immortal.
So, but anyway, like I went to a friend's house in sometime in the last 5 months, and then, the usual thing to do at a friend's house if you're drinking is, I am being more tempered now, and if basically the rule is the most tempered person gets told to drink more. That's just how it is, and so that's always me now. And they're like, "Oh, get another one," and I'm like, "No, I will actually say no and like be mad at you now is my thing, and it will embarrass you, and I don't care. I don't care if it embarrasses me either."
Yeah.
Eventually, like they'll be like,
How old are you
"Come
now?
on."
25?
26.
26? You're 26. You got there. You just said
Yep.
no to peer pressure. I don't give an F. I'll do what I want.
Yeah, I
That's my
still
attitude.
give an
Like,
F. if
my
I'm being honest,
attitude is I'll just do what I want. So I don't want to drink. I won't. Whatever.
anyway, to answer your
I'm a real
question,
buzzkill.
what I do now is I will drink somewhere in the range of 1 to 5.
Yeah.
When I went really crazy with you one night a couple months ago, at some point. I think you had just moved in,
Oh yeah.
and I drank a lot that
That'd have
night.
been like 6 weeks. So anyway.
Yeah, I had at least 12 that night, but that was
Oh yeah, I remember that.
me going pretty crazy, and I didn't feel good, and so I was like, nope, and I went and threw up.
Yeah, I remember that.
I did not have to. I didn't have to throw up. I just like I don't. That was one example of that's the only time in the last couple of years that I drank more than I usually would. And that's because I was merry and cheer. So I'm not saying I won't ever do it again, but out of the last 30 times that I've had alcohol, it was 29 of those 30 were me being anywhere in the range from 2 to 5 probably. I've had one tonight. I might have one more. And it's not because I don't want more. It's because I'm gonna enjoy this, and it's better than having water. And I just have to think of it that way.
Yeah.
I think, boy, it's been better for me than other people. If you have to have like, I've been to where I had to have like 30 to feel anything as far as beers go, and that didn't last long because I realized that's way too many. Shouldn't do that. But I'm not gonna do that anymore. Kind of thing. Just done. Does that answer what you were asking?
Yeah. 1 to 5.
Yep. If you have to, basically the rule is if you have to have a certain amount, if you can make that amount less, then try that. And you can do that by staying away from it for a while. Like I bet if you went completely off, if you didn't have any alcohol for a couple months, then you could probably have like 8 shots and feel pretty good.
If I lost 40 pounds, I could have 8 shots and feel really good. I have so much body mass. I'm sure that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Well, if you lost 40 pounds, you could have 5 and be fine.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, if I lost 50 pounds, it's 20%.
You don't need to lose 50
I'm
pounds.
just saying.
Yeah.
I could, and I could still be healthy, but that's 20% reduction in just body mass. So anyway,
If you lost 50 pounds, you'd be tinier than me.
I don't know. I've been this tall and much less, and that was unhealthy because I was sick. But that's not the point. The point is, I could be at the minimum weight I could be and be healthy is about 200 pounds. I'd be skinny, but I'd be healthy at that weight.
Yeah. So this is another thing. I listened to, there was a conversation about caffeine, which is a drug for all intents and
Oh
purposes.
yeah, I was gonna talk about like how sugar is a legal drug and we just think it's okay, but it's actually super harmful. It's one of those examples. But go ahead.
Well, there was this really interesting. I think it was, who was that? It could have been Jordan Peterson, but I don't think it was. I think it was. But anyway, basically there was a caffeine expert on, and basically the conversation was somewhere in the range of, yeah, caffeine is definitely a drug because you get addicted. And now the thing is basically this guy's whole premise for this book that he wrote was people used to literally live and work off of alcohol because alcohol was one of the only safe drinks that you could have because it was fermented. All the germs were killed out of it. Water was often dirty. And so you'd get sick drinking water, stomach bugs, things like that. A lot of water is sitting water. And so that collects bacteria. So a lot of cultures, including the kids, would just drink ale or something fermented or wine. And that was how they did their days. They worked their jobs doing that. And so they got a little bit less. And it was funny. This guy basically charted out kind of the work flow that these cultures kind of churned out. And because their drinks were alcohol, usually they did get some stuff done, but it wasn't done exactly the best as far as, architecture goes and things like that, or just their work hours were different. They'd work hard and stuff, but that's because they had to live. But anyway, in the past, cultures would live off and were addicted to alcohol to get through their days. And there was a reason for that. And that kind of went all the way up through the last couple hundred years, maybe less, when caffeine kind of got introduced and people realized, wait, this wakes me up. Whoa, I can get so much more done. And that's basically what happened. Boom, industrial revolution. Things get just done all over the place because everybody's awake. And now it's basically completely integrated into culture. Like a lot of people can't survive. Every company offers coffee basically now just for your mornings. That's just so you can wake up. And so part of this guy's book study was to go completely without caffeine, which includes chocolate. I didn't know chocolate had caffeine, but chocolate in its essence is caffeinated. So this guy went completely off caffeine for a while, and he basically talked about how much it sucked and how much he was tired all the time. He had headaches and stuff. And then how he's kind of back to some sense of normalcy. But now when he has caffeine, it's like literally, it feels like he's high. And I remember that feeling because I remember the first time I had like soda and I was like, whoa. Anyway, the point is that his whole case was that caffeine is a drug. And even if it's a safe drug that doesn't impair your motor movements or your brain at all, maybe it should be treated like that. And, we should appreciate it for its effect on the economy and the culture and stuff, because it is a good drug. And in his point about alcohol and how it affected the culture, it was not lost on me. Basically, I think my thought is they're all drugs. So everything that affects your state of consciousness is drugs. And if you found out where its usefulness is, like alcohol's usefulness is in recreation. Caffeine's is in working kind of thing. Anyway, go ahead.
This is going towards your advocacy for
Precisely.
weed, right? Mm-hmm. I understand that because it's almost arbitrary how drugs are and how they're used. But if we can respect caffeine and appreciate its benefits, then we should treat all drugs, including weed, the same way. We should respect it and use it in a good way. I understand.
And psychedelics the same way. Like I feel, because there's each of these drugs, alcohol, weed, marijuana, psychedelics. I said marijuana and weed. I meant caffeine, sugar, caffeine. They have their utility, and it's like if you can find where to use this, then it could be better for everyone. So alcohol obviously has great utility in leisure and relaxation, and weed is the same way, or in the calming is weed. And then there's uppers too. There's uppers like caffeine, which is sort of a mild upper, but very effective. And then there's like
cocaine.
Right. There's some pretty intense ones like cocaine too. And maybe there's certain utility for that in some of the more intense job markets and stuff like that, because those people use cocaine all the time.
They still have, I think they still have Oxytocin, which is essentially heroin. If I remember right, maybe I'm dead wrong, when they still use it medicinally. Where maybe, I can't remember what it is, people can get addicted to Oxycontin in the same way that they would use it as a substitute for heroin. If they're recovering heroin addicts, they go get prescriptions for Oxycontin for some made up pain, and they get the same fix. I can't remember how they connect, but
I think that's right. No, there's a bunch of drug. It's just weird the ones that people kind of arbitrarily picked that were like.
Yeah, that I totally agree with. It's really
Yeah.
arbitrary, is what I'd put it, with what drugs are good and bad.
I would go.
Well, it's kind of. I mean, I think most of us would agree that cocaine is bad. I can't see a good use for it, but maybe I just don't know.
It's an upper, man.
That
if
actually
you want to be
like
wired,
damages your brain.
I think they all do.
Well, I guess
I actually think they all do.
most anything in excess will damage you.
Yeah.
Water in excess will damage you.
Yeah.
That's probably my strongest point.
Yeah, man.
Water in excess will damage you. You'll die. You could drive from drinking too much. Whatever.
I think you hit it on the head just there.
That's a different way of saying what you said. If we can find out how to use each one in the right way, they all have their uses.
Have we talked about psychedelics yet?
No, I don't think so.
So I've been studying them a lot, and it is, to me, the very most interesting drug of them all, and for obvious reasons.
It is, for me, the most interesting, probably for this. For us, when Jordan Peterson talked about them, I heard it before. I was like, he's talking about how they're essentially spiritual or out of body experiences. However, he equated it more than physical,
Yeah.
and that made me like scared. Like, I don't want the responsibility of seeing God. That's a high end example,
Yeah.
but it is very interesting. It's almost like talking about fantasy lore, like the SCP containment lore and all that, how it all works. I don't know. You start to. I don't think a connection made any sense. Like, it's like I'm already on psychedelics.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have that stuff.
It's pretty,
So why is it the most interesting to you? That's what I was going to ask.
all the reasons you said, and then all the accounts. And I've listened to many lectures on it now. Today, I was really excited because I listened to a bunch of lectures outside of the Jordan Peterson, sphere, whatever that would be called, ecosystem, the Jordan Peterson ecosystem. And I was actually listening to other lecturers about it and stuff. And then today, another lecturer that I had listened to met with Jordan Peterson, and they talked about it together. And it was so awesome. I was like, man, I've been watching these guys. But yeah, all reports. The thing that fascinates me the most is the fact that like 97% of the people who did it. It's an insane amount. Maybe it's 90%, but an insane amount of people who have tried it in the way that the test allowed for them to, said it was one of the top 3 most important experiences of their life. And none of them could really say why. One of the things the guy said in the interview I listened to today was, when you go and you meet with the divine, just in coming back, you can't take it back with you. And so like while you're there, you experience it fully, and maybe you can pull back fragments of it with you, and you keep those, but only in that moment do you actually experience it fully, kind of thing. And my back's seizing. But that stuck out to me because I think that's how other people would describe psychedelics too. It's like, man, when you're doing it, it's just the most pretty thing or scary.
Scary.
Yeah.
Profound is probably the right word. So profound can be scary or enlightening or amazing, but it's important, and it would have levity that I'm afraid that might be bad levity. Oh, that makes sense.
I think
was that the Jordan Peterson podcast, or was it his counterparts show?
The Jordan Peterson.
Cool. I'll probably check that out.
It's cool. The first half, he's talking to a writer who's writing about it and who talked to this older guy about his experiences with it. And then the second part of the interview is mainly featuring the older guy, and he gives some personal experience stuff, which is interesting. And they talk a lot about it theoretically and what its utility is, and like, culture, how it would look integrated in culture and stuff. The first interview I watched about it that got me kind of on that was Jordan Peterson had one of the professors from, I believe it was, I can't remember what university it was, but basically he was one of the first guys that somehow got a grant to work the problem of psychedelics, and he just got, and nobody else would because it was so taboo, but somehow he was just even-keeled enough guy, and he was just casually interested, and everybody was like trying to do that, but somehow he got the ability to, and the approval from the government and everything he needed, and he did experiments with psychedelics on like a control group of like 100 people or something, and he gave his results. And I think the other interesting thing about that specific test was that I believe 70% of the people who took the test reported a decreased death anxiety. Like most of the people basically were less afraid of death after they tried it.
That's interesting.
I know. I was like,
and eerie.
it might have been 80%. It was a lot of the people who did it. It was like
Majority
not afraid
is a good enough word, I guess.
majorities, but just the fact that most people did is crazy. But anyway, basically they kept everything. They had all the people who were working this scientific experiment had a pact to not release any of the information that they came up with until it was completely done, and then they would determine the next steps. So they finished their findings and everything, and there was too many findings to detail them out in what I heard, but basically their conclusion was, and this is sort of a self-assuring conclusion, that just me telling you this should show you how profound and weird the findings were. The next step that they wanted to do was get religious leaders in this room and give them psychedelics. Just the fact that was what they wanted to do next makes me think those things have to be related. Then.
Yeah.
They were encountering so many things that they were like, I know who needs this. The people who think these crazy things about gods.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that, anyway, that should be enough right there to let you know what kind of findings they found. That's what they decided to do next. They're actually doing that study now, and they said that they're going to publish the results, I think, sometime in the next year. But they're being quiet about that one too.
Come on, let's go. I want to know.
Yeah, and then,
but not enough to do it myself. That doesn't help nothing.
Yeah.
So you've never done psychedelics, right? Yeah.
No. Okay. No. I would like to. But not because I want to get high. It's literally so I can experience that.
I don't know if it's the right approach. It's just me as a person. But like I said, I don't want the responsibility. Another way of saying it is, if I haven't said this already, it could be assuming it's going to be one of the most important experiences of my life. What if it's a bad experience? Maybe I should, but I'm not willing to gamble.
Really?
Right now, I don't see a reason. I don't think I have a lot to gain. But this is one of the main differences between you and me. Is you're typically more optimistic. I'm typically more pessimistic in certain things like this. If taking a psychedelic was a 50-50 chance of having an amazing experience or a really bad one, I'm not taking those odds. But would you take those odds if you knew that it's a 50-50 chance?
I'd take those odds if it was a 100% chance it would be a bad experience for me. Because it's out there and I need to know.
Huh. That's another difference. I like to be ignorant, and you don't. I'd rather not know. That's me. And you're a mean word I've used is nosy. You would rather know. I'd rather not know. Generally speaking,
I don't know. It's the spirit of adventure, man. It's you don't look up to heroes that stay at home. You look up to the heroes that take the ring to Mount Doom and drop it in the fire and encounter a bunch of bad guys along the way. I'm
not saying it's right. My ignorance thing, I worry it's not, but that's my default.
Sure, and it makes sense. It's a justifiable.
It's a red pill,
position.
Blue pill question.
Yeah, I think you're kind of you're more like that in general than me, and you said that already. But I think you would. The red pill, blue pill thing. You'd probably take the blue pill, wouldn't you?
That's tough because I know what the red pill is, but typically, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Especially if morality is entirely removed from it. Absolutely.
I'd take them both just to see what crazy thing happened.
You must choose. I choose both.
You just go.
And you implode.
Yeah.
This could be a funnier, smarter answer to that. Whatever. I can't think of that right now.
Basically, the other thing I'm thinking is why would this be created if it wasn't for something for people to interact with?
Psychedelics?
Yeah, like why? If I believe in God, right?
Well,
and
for
I
the same
God
reason that
this,
rhinoceroses have horns, some people are meant to be impaled on them. But should they? If they're in your argument would be because if they're meant to take LSD, then they should.
I get your point. I don't know if it's
a stupid point.
It's not a. It's not a direct
the point is a rhinoceros's horn.
That's funny.
No,
but
it's not. Stop encouraging me. You're enabling me to make bad jokes.
It's different, and I don't know if I can put my head. I
totally understand your point. It's just not what I would choose.
Right.
Right. Like if I'm next to somebody, Morpheus is offering them a blue and red pill, you took a red pill. Like I get why you did that.
So here's
not my choice.
Here's another thing. There, like a lot of the historic people who did amazing things and stuff, like a lot of them who were already talented people, they took these and then they just they started making the best things they ever made because they had a new experience and a way of looking things. It's like, or looking at things. So something about the experience changes the way you look at things, and perspective can only be good, in my opinion. That I actually believe that. I had to think about that, but perspective for the sake of perspective can only be good.
That's blue and red pill.
You see clearer if you have different
here's the
vantage
thing.
points.
Good and right, two different things. Here's a great example of blue and red pill. Cypher in the Matrix movie. He took the red pill. Now he has the responsibility. I'm going to talk about this stuff later, smart time. Rights and responsibility go hand in hand. You don't get one without the other. When you take the red pill, you now have the responsibility that came with the rights. Now now you have this perspective on how things are. And now you're trying to back out and you get the Matrix computer and say, hey, put me back in the system and wipe my memory. I want to undo my red pill. If I was in Cypher's position, that is not an option. Because now I know that humanity is enslaved and I have a responsibility now to fight the good fight. Like you can't back out from that. So that's my justification for choosing to be ignorant. As long as I don't have that burden, as long as I don't have that perspective, which you said perspective is good.
Yeah, I just don't like that.
Perspective is, I don't see the good. I don't see the rights of the perspective. I see the responsibilities of it. I'm on the negative. I just see things negatively.
Yeah, but it's not negative to have responsibility.
It's not.
It's like the opposite of negative.
It's evil to try to give up the responsibility that you have to undo your red pill. That is wrong. But if you're if you choose the red pill, I can't say that's wrong either. If you choose the blue pill, I can't say that's wrong either. It's only when you try to abject your responsibility or not use your perspective. So I'm saying if you take psychedelics and you get perspective and you think the world looks worse, that's something you have to live with. And I know you're fine with that, but I don't know that I would be willing to live with that.
So okay, here's another thing I think that there's a disconnect with. Because you think, it sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me that you think that taking the drugs can have two effects. You either see the world better or you see it worse afterward.
Yeah.
So I don't think that it's either of those things. I think you just see it. Like you see it clearer. It's like you see it differently and clearer. And it provides
that disconnect.
You do sense it?
No, I felt it. It was a difference between good and right again. Rights and responsibility.
Yeah. So it's like
you're trying to remove the morals from it. Maybe I should too. All I see is the morality of it.
Yeah, but I don't know that
you're saying. Yeah. I just see more of the world. You're gonna see more. I'm just thinking about the responsibility of it.
I know. Let me fumble through this really quick because
sure.
I'm trying to convey this. Then I think what I'm trying to convey is that it's not. So this life-changing thing, it isn't because their life afterward changes. It's just that they have a different perspective. It's like, no, you still have all the same daily problems and interactions and like a present issues that you have to deal with, and you're still responsible for yourself in the present. Nothing changes about your responsibility. All it does is so you have this view, right? You've got a cone, and this is your perspective. You can see this much. It's like you take the blinders and go like this. And it just opens about 10 degrees. You just see a little bit more and a little clearer. And so I get your point is maybe, and tell me if this is wrong too, but I think your point is maybe that 10% view that I get to see things better will reveal that there's monsters in the perspective that I didn't see before. But wouldn't you want to know? If you're walking forward through life, wouldn't you want to know there's monsters there in your peripheral? Like you just can't see them because you're blinded.
Not if the monster is knowing that one day you're going to die,
But you're going to do that anyway. You're going to see the monsters eventually.
But the difference is not now. You every moment of every day you're just thinking about I'm going to die, and it doesn't change anything about your life other than this fear that doesn't help you. I'm talking about actual harm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make the case for the potential worst.
I think that you see the experience as it will scar you forever in a good way or a bad way. And I don't think it's necessarily like that either. Like the more removed from anything you get, the more you forget about it.
Here,
so like
I'll try to help you out. I'll try to boost your point. So the way I would, hopefully this makes sense. I got really hurt in my relationship, but I don't regret going through with it and doing what I did. I think it was the right thing to do despite how uncomfortable it was. I see the world differently now. I'm less happy with how I see the world, but I believe it's the right thing that I can see the world more clearly. So now that I know that was a red pill. Now would I choose to take another red pill? I don't want to, but if I knew I was going to see more truth, you see, this is morality again. It's not about then I have to do what's right or true.
Yeah.
So that's me advocating for your point. But you can at least understand why I'm not anxious to take another red pill.
Well, I guess then the question is if you think it's noble to be ignorant.
No.
So you don't mind. You're just not an advocate of nobility.
I can't say it's noble to take the red pill either, because it could be.
What's more noble?
Well, let me answer my own question, because I've thought about this. I don't think choosing to be ignorant is honorable. I don't think choosing to take the red pill is necessarily honorable either. I don't think one's better than the other. And just, you could be a foolhardy, curious, nosy, stupid person who just like, oh sure, like I'll just take it on. I'll take on these rights, and without thinking about the responsibility and the weight of what you could be doing. There are those people. There's good reasons to take the blue and the red. I don't think one's more right than the other. Choice-wise, once the choice has been made, this is the distinction I've been trying to make. It's Cypher in the movie. Once you've taken the red pill, you are then obligated to follow through with that responsibility. If you try to back out on that responsibility, then you're doing wrong. It's the only way you can be truly wrong.
So apply that exact example to psychedelics then. Because I don't know something that you can do morally to... I don't know what you're responsible for precisely after you have psychedelics. Just not changing your behavior or changing your behavior according to what you've experienced. Like, I don't see what you're saying.
I don't get the question.
So you said, oh, it's going to leave my mind. You said that once you've had the red pill, then you adopt the responsibility for that too. I don't understand what responsibility a person who partakes in psychedelics is precisely assuming. I think it's just perspective. It's not responsibility.
Who knows what it is? But let's just use an example. You may one up. You can see monsters now that have always been there. You just didn't know they were there. You now have the burden of this.
Oh, permanently? Like afterward, you permanently see monsters?
Who knows what psychedelics would do? We have to make up something. Let's say now.
I don't think you have to, because we know what they do.
We need an example to.
There's a bunch of examples of what they do. There's. I don't think in any case that people forever see monsters afterwards.
I thought that example was actually a good example.
You can keep
the
going
monsters.
with it.
The monsters, you just see them. They're not. You can't interact with them, but now you know that they're there. You would say it's a good thing. It's the truth. You want to know the truth. Yeah. But the question is, would you choose to see them in the first place? Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I forgot what your question was, but you're saying what responsibility would you have? Could you possibly have after taking psychedelics? Is that your question? What responsibility could you have? What if you see these monsters that you know are there? What responsibility do you have to act around them or inform other people? Hey, there's these monsters here. Or that's a responsibility you have. If you got the power of flight, you're the origin in the superhero movie. You have a responsibility now. You're Spider-Man. It's the question. You have an ability, a power. Now you have responsibility with it.
Yeah, I think that.
And after taking psychedelics, you could gain new perspective, a new sight. However you understand it, that is a responsibility.
Yeah,
you get the right to this power, therefore you get the responsibility. Whatever.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that made sense.
Couple, maybe these would be useful distinctions to make. I do see where you're coming from now. I think that if you knew more about what like the experiences psychedelics would have, you wouldn't be afraid of it like that.
I am putting them in like the worst possible light.
Because it's not a lot of the things you're saying. So like, let me give the worst example from. So one example of things this would advocate your point, to the degree that I can. But one of the things that some people reported when they took psychedelics was that 50%, I believe it's approximately 50%, saw entities that were not human, and they interacted with them. And some of those experiences were extremely inexplicably positive, and some of them were terrifying. And the people that were the people that were terrified were pretty shaken up for a couple weeks, but they went back to life as normal, and they they didn't have a desire to take psychedelics anymore. Now, because psychedelics real is sort of up in the air when psychedelics is in case, people treat everything that we interact with and see as real, even though technically it's all just information and we're interacting with it in a weird way. And, real comes into question real quick with psychedelics.
What is real?
So there's like the difference between useful truth and practical truth, or, there's the difference there. And psychedelics, even if it's real, what you're experiencing, because it's an experience and experiences are real.
It's in your brain. You see it. Is it
Correct.
real? I get it. Yeah, I get that.
So maybe it's very real in a metaphorical sense, but in
Maybe it's real in the spiritual plane. Maybe it's real. It's real in some way. I understand.
it's real in some way, and in some levels it can be physical,
Yeah.
technically, but it's not largely, and that's not what it's known for. Anyway, I don't know that maybe education on the effects of it would change your mind. Excuse me. But I do see what you're saying now. I don't think that there's, like, when people say it was one of the most meaningful experiences of their life, I think it's precisely because of the perspective, and because perspective is so valuable. I mean, ask anyone who moves overseas for an extended period of time and how they, they integrate with another culture, and they come back and they have the perspective of a different part of the world, and they're just like, you can see it on their face. They just love life better, because it's like they see things, they enjoy things more because they know what's good and what's bad, and they they have just a new way of seeing things.
I want to make it known that I don't have an aversion to. I would like to do that. I'd like to travel and get perspective on things. I like to try different things, like skydive, whatever. I want to do different things, and I'm not completely opposed or have an aversion to expanding or growing myself. Not at all. But I try to be aware of not just the rights part, the fun part of these experiences, but the responsibilities that are going to come with them. So I'm not looking that you have those, whatever. I'm just.
I get it.
Okay. That's all.
I do get it. I think philosophically, I just differ from you about my orientation with responsibility. I think I would welcome it because I'm different.
Yin yang, frickin', what are some other ones? Good, evil, light, dark, love and fear. Rights and responsibility is one of my, in fact, probably the only one I've determined in my head. I'd call those, what do you call those things?
Ethics.
Polar opposites. It's one, rights and responsibility. You can't have one. You can't have one without the other. They're the opposite, but they're one. That's what rights and responsibility.
Two sides of the same coin.
Yes, that's
whatever.
another phrase. Yes. So I am, if rights and responsibility is a Harvey Dent coin, Rachel coin, then the responsibility is the dark side of the coin, and that's the side I focus on because I'm a negative person.
Boy, I wish you didn't see responsibility as negative, though.
Well, not negative wasn't the right word. Generally, I'll pick the negative of the two sides in any kind of yin yang coins thing. I try to see the seriousness, the importance, the levity of responsibility.
The grave intensity.
Take it seriously. I don't know. Maybe I focus it on too much. Maybe, but
Or maybe you
I have a proclivity is a good word.
Yeah.
Toward that side of the coin in every kind of yin yang situation.
Yeah. And
That's
you
me as
just
a
don't
person.
and you just don't like it.
Don't like what?
That side of the coin, responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, but once I have it, I do it. I take it on.
I know you do. Maybe because, well, who knows why? I'm not a psychiatrist.
Who knows?
I'm not a psychodontist. I can't do that for you.
That's a good one. Psychodontics.
Psychodontist. No, I don't know. All the times that I've adopted responsibilities, even ones I didn't want, I didn't regret it. I was telling someone the other day, they asked me about my work history or whatever. They said, what was your favorite job you ever had? And I said, I was working at a bank. I won't name it. I don't have to. And UBT I worked there about 3.5 years. And why was it your favorite? Well, I knew I was very good at what I did. I loved all the customers and I loved my coworkers and I had just so much fun hanging out with them all day. It was just like, it didn't feel very much like work some days. Some days it did, but why'd you leave? Well, I wanted to grow my career. And they were like, well, what was the worst job you had? I was like, it was the job I got right after I left that one. They're like, so you went from your favorite job ever to your least favorite ever? I was like, yeah. And I thought about it. I was like, and I still don't regret doing it. And they were like, really? And I was like, well, I mean, the fact that I went out there and did it, I left the place I was comfortable and
You didn't want to just grow your career. You wanted to grow.
Right.
And you have to take on the flip side of that coin. You have to go through negative things to grow. That's why I said about my relationship, like,
yeah,
it was negative.
I get
ultimately.
that.
But, and I'm sure you feel the same way about your relationship is you don't regret having done it.
right.
Yeah. A probably more sympathetic term would be something like the character of Robin Williams' psychiatrist whose wife has died, and half the movie's premise is on him being an embittered old person who's afraid to go out there, but he tries to advocate the point that I don't regret being married to my wife, even though she died, and now I'm all alone and depressed. I don't regret being with her. That's that kind of
Yeah.
whatever.
It's the same kind of idea. I think that's kind of how I see the psychedelic. I kind of see drugs that way. It's just,
And I understand.
yeah,
I don't think we've been combative in trying to dissuade each other from how we feel, or just explaining how we think or feel about.
yeah. And I do understand how you feel now. I just,
Well, that's cool. We
yeah.
talked it out.
yeah. Listen to this chord. It sounds like the. Does that sound?
What's
Two to the one.
Yeah,
to the
that's
one,
there
to
it
the-
is. Yeah, I knew it sounded familiar.
I played it before the podcast. I was like, I wonder if he'll know what I'm talking about. It's like in a lot of
If you
YouTube
gave me,
outros.
if you gave me a few more, I could have made seconds. I probably could have guessed, but I definitely recognized it.
Yeah, it's something. I was like, oh, that's so familiar. Anyway, it was a fun little synth sound.
Speaking of a fun little sound, let's see what I got. I got one more. No.
I'll play them at the same time.
Oh no, the sound's not there.
Has the sound turned off?
Oh, it's
Do I
showing
need
a
to turn
warning.
this up more? No, because it was playing earlier.
It's my computer. The sound's not on here anymore.
Let's get down to the nitty gritty.
That sounds like an episode start
Yeah.
sound clip.
Let's get down to the nitty
I'm
gritty.
gonna keep that one.
That's a good one.
Hey, that episode we just did, it was psychedelic. I was almost exactly what I was hoping for. You were half amused and half annoyed. Like,
Your face is like, wasn't it? Wasn't it? Well, thanks for joining us. I guess we're done for all time.
Yeah.
You want to hear this again?
wow.
2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. It's time to end the podcast. Me.
That is what I was thinking it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the same thing. Whatever I'm thinking, it's the same one. Okay.
All right, thank you everybody for all time.
Bye for everybody.